Hi, I'm back again. Got a few minutes, so I thought I would come back on. And this time I've got a different corn snake. Um, this one's 2 years old, and she's a ultramelanistic anathoristic corn snake. As I said before, the reason that I'm coming on here is in the hope of catching people who are interested in learning a bit more about snakes. Might be thinking about buying one, and I'd just like to try and help people answer questions, just anything general, anything that people want to know about snakes or keeping snakes. I used to do a lot of talks in the UK. I now live in Denmark, but I'm originally from Scotland, and I used to do a lot of educational talks, and I used to do a lot of home visits, visiting people who had bought various exotic pets, but mainly snakes. But I've kept a lot of other things, lizards and spiders and frogs and all that sort of stuff. It is a Danish snake. It was bred in Denmark. It's not a native snake to Denmark, and it's not dangerous. It was captive bred by a Danish breeder, and it's a corn snake. Corn snakes originally they're from America, but it's not venomous. It's not aggressive. Just getting it to move. This is a female corn snake, and she's 2 years old. She's not that big, maybe a metre long, but she's still young. I've got a shed skin. I got her 2 years ago at a reptile fair in Copenhagen, and she was just a baby, and this is a shed skin, so you can see how thin and small she was. And I've got a shed skin that was only shed about a week ago, and you can see the difference. You can see the difference in the thickness. So that's how much she's grown in 2 years. Corn snakes grow to about 4.5 feet long. The reason I'm doing that with the box is snakes like to hide, they like to be in dark places. During the daytime they feel secure, but because she's used to being handled, she's not in any rush. As you can see, she's just sitting. But if she had been a wild snake, she would go straight in there really fast, and then she would turn around and sit with her head facing out the way so she can watch for any predators. But because she's been handled so much, she really isn't stressed at all. So she's went in, had a little look in the box, and decided there's nothing much in there worth looking at, so she's coming back out again. And she eats one mouse every 10 days. She's trying to find something else to hide, but she feeds them one mouse every 10 days, so they don't take a lot of looking after. See if we can get her to go back in. She's not interested. She's actually more lively than she usually is. But you can see, I can pick her up. She's fine. Now she's decided she's going in the box. I might breed her next year. This jerking movement that you can see her doing, it's because I did a video maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes ago, and I had a male corn snake here, and she can smell him, and this is the breeding season, and this is a typical, if you put a male and female snake together, they both do this sort of little jerky movements. It's because she can smell the male. But I'm not breeding them this year. I might breed them next year. I mean, I've bred a lot of corn snakes in the past. When I stayed in Scotland, I had a lot of snakes. But when I moved to Denmark, I basically had to give all that up. It was just going to be far too much hassle to try and bring a lot of snakes over to Denmark. So I gave them to a friend who's just quite a large breeder in Scotland. So I came over here with no snakes, and then I went to a reptile fair in Copenhagen 2 years ago, and I came back with 2 young snakes, and she's the female. The male is a different type of corn snake. They're both corn snakes, but they're different. He's a bit more like a normal looking corn snake. He's orange, which is sort of normal colour for a corn snake. But you can see she's sniffing about, that's why she's flicking her tongue. She's probably wondering who the male is. She's also maybe hoping to get the scent of a mouse. But she was fed about 4 or 5 days ago. So she's not due to be fed for another 5 days. But she would eat. I mean, if I offered her a mouse, she would eat. But corn snakes are pretty bad for being overfed, and they become fat, just like people if they eat too much. They don't do a lot. Most of the time snakes just sit about. She can still smell that male, that's why she's doing that jerky movement. But yeah, they basically eat and then they go and hide and digest their food and don't do much else. It takes about 4 or 5 days for her to digest the whole mouse. And then once she's done that, she starts looking for food again. But it's really easy to overfeed them. People think because they eat, they're hungry, they should feed them more often. All that happens is the snake becomes obese, and it isn't good, like humans, it isn't good for their health, causes a lot of problems. So it's better to stick to, I'd say every 10 days for a corn snake to feed. You can see the yellow on her neck. When she was a hatchling, she didn't have any yellow at all, and she's developed that as she's grown. And you can see the tip of her nose is yellow as well. It's sort of every time she sheds, that yellow gets a bit brighter and it moves gradually further down her body. You can see it's a sort of peachy colour once she gets so far down. As she gets older, the yellow areas will gradually get a bit further down her body, maybe halfway, but they won't go all the way along. She's I don't know why she's sitting so still. Usually when, there you go. But usually when they sit like that, they're flicking their tongues because they've picked up the scent of something. What she's picking up is the scent of a male. I had a male corn snake on about 45 minutes ago, and she can smell the scent of him. But she's probably hoping more that she gets the scent of a mouse. So again, this is just very quick. Hopefully this is going on to my Twitter account, and I'm really interested in answering questions. I did that for a long time in Scotland. I can't remember. I think the first time I did like public talks was 1994, I think. Yeah, 1994, I think, was the first time that I sort of spoke to people face to face. It was actually at a reptile show in Scotland. And I was just talking to people that were thinking about buying a snake and were wanting to learn more about them, to give them a better idea exactly what they were letting themselves in for. So it started then, but before that I used to talk a lot to people through email. This was like before Facebook and Twitter and all these social media things. Back then it was really hard to find information, how to look after snakes and how to feed them and if they had feeding problems. It was really difficult to find people, and I started a small group on a program called ICQ. It's a bit like Messenger, and managed to get a few people who were interested in snakes. I think most people actually kept one or two, and sort of started with that, and then I decided to do a website, which I'd never done. I had absolutely no idea how to do a website, so I got interested in that, and I sat and designed the logo that you see. I mean, I've had that for, well, the website went live in 2000, but I was sort of dabbling about trying to figure out what I was doing before, probably 1999. I spent a lot of time trying to decide on the logo, what the whole thing was going to be about. People ask me why I call it Petsnakes when I don't really see snakes as pets, in the same league as she's off the tail. I don't see them in the same league as cats and dogs, domestic pets. Snakes don't look for attention. They tolerate, well, some snakes, some species tolerate being handled better than others. Corn snakes are probably one of the best. They can be a bit jumpy when they're babies, but it's just a natural thing because everything and anything can eat them. They're not venomous. They've got no strength, they can't do anything. They can hiss, they can buzz their tail a bit like a rattlesnake in the hope that they scare things away, but really, like to a bird, it's an easy meal. It's just like a worm. So that's why snakes like to hide during daytime, because they're not equipped really to deal with anything that's going to try and eat them. Not these snakes anyway. I mean, they can bite, but the bite is nothing. I mean, if you've got a hungry animal, it'll kill a snake and eat it. I mean, they aren't equipped to really do much about it. Venomous snakes, obviously a different thing, but these ones aren't. They're classed as constrictors. When you mention the word constrictor, automatically people think boa constrictor, big snake. But basically snakes are either constrictors or they're venomous. There are a few that are both, but mainly if they're not venomous, they're constrictors. And what they do is they grab their prey and coil around it and then tighten up, stop the prey from breathing. Like with this one, I mean, I feed my snakes thawed mice. I buy them frozen, and I thaw them out when I need them and just offer them to the snakes. But if it was a wild snake and a live mouse, the snake would strike out and grab it with its mouth. They've got about 200 teeth in their mouth that are curved backwards, and they're designed that way to catch the animal. The initial thing is to catch the mouse. Once they grab it, as soon as they grab it, they'll coil maybe 3 coils around the mouse's body, and they'll tighten up, and the mouse will breathe out and the snake will tighten again, and the mouse will maybe breathe out again and the snake will tighten again, and the mouse can't breathe in. The other thing is they squeeze so tightly that they disrupt the blood supply around the mouse's body, and that also helps to kill the mouse faster. She's decided she's just going to go away along the table. Just grab her back again. So as you can see, I mean, easy to handle, easy to pick up. I mean, kids can easily handle corn snakes. They aren't that strong. Or, I mean, it should always be under adult supervision, like handling any animal, especially younger kids, because they've got a habit or tendency to squeeze, which isn't good for snakes. We've got about 300 vertebrae and very thin bones, so it can be quite easy for a young kid to squeeze them, so you need to be careful, that sort of thing. And she's finally decided to settle down. But like I said, she's ultramelanistic aneuploristic, which means that she doesn't have any red pigment, which is a sort of normal background colour for a corn snake, red and orange, yellow. So you can see she's grey. She's got that yellow on her nose and down the side of her body. So, like I said, I mean, I haven't been on for a while, but the idea is hopefully that I'll start to catch people that are thinking about buying a snake, maybe have snakes and just want to chat about different things. I've met a lot of people who are new, like really new. They're just thinking about getting a snake and they want to know how to look after them properly. They want to know about feeding, how to feed them, how often to feed them, what to feed them, setups, what temperatures they should be set at, how they should set up the tank or tub or whatever they keep the snake in. You have to set up a temperature gradient, so you've got like a warm side and a cool side, so the snake can move back and forward and thermoregulate. A lot of people say that snakes are cold-blooded, which isn't actually true. Basically, their blood is the same temperature as their surroundings. So if they're in an area where it's quite warm, the snake will actually be quite warm. They can't, like if we get too hot, we sweat to cool down. Snakes can't do that. They basically just move away, move into the shade, go down a hole somewhere where it's cooler, and she can still smell that male. It's because I'm touching her and she's got the scent of the male and it's breeding season and she's thinking that she's going to be lucky, but she's not. Yeah, so the snakes will, they'll also come out and bask on rocks. Like you'll get rocks that get heated up by the sun during the day, and the snakes will come out as it starts to get dark, as the sun starts to go down, and the rocks are warm, so the snakes will lay on them and get some heat off them, and they use the heat. The heat helps them digest their food. If snakes are too cold and they swallow a mouse, they won't be able to digest it. It can cause a lot of problems. The other thing is wild snakes, they will lay on the road, they'll lay on the tarmac on the road to warm up, and they get run over. I did have a truck driver, this is a long time ago, but I had a truck driver in America had emailed me and said that he had accidentally run over a black snake. It was on the road, he didn't see it until it was too late and he ran over it. He stopped his truck and went back but couldn't find the snake, and he was asking if I thought it would still be okay, because he'd heard that snakes didn't have any bones, and I'm not exactly sure what he thought happened. He flattened it and then it just popped back up again. The chances are, I mean, it depends where he ran over. Obviously it must have been the tail or something, but he would have damaged the snake. It probably crawled away and died, to be realistic, but it just depends where he hit it. Snakes have got like I said, about 300 vertebrae, so they've got a lot of ribs, and they've got internal organs like everything else, a heart and lung. These snakes have only got one lung. Snakes developed from lizards. People tend to think it was the other way around, that you had the snakes and then they grew legs and became lizards. It was actually the opposite. The lizards lost their legs because they found it was an advantage for getting into small crevices and stuff. If they were chasing prey, they could get in where, if they had legs, the legs get in the way. And you can see this in pythons. They've got a pelvic girdle with a pelvic bone that's still there, and you can see that they've got little spurs that they can move, a bit like legs, but they're tiny little stumps, but they're there. And you can see the pelvic girdle, which is a completely different bone from the rest of the snake. So basically that's what happened. The lizards gradually lost their legs. I mean, you've got some skinks that are still going about now, and they've got like tiny legs. They look kind of weird. But the other thing about the snakes is they don't have eyelids, so they can't blink. They've just got a scale called the brill over their eye, like a big contact lens basically. And when they shed their skin, they also shed the scale over their eye. Don't know if I have. Yep. I've got one of the sheds when the snake was young, and you can see, if I find the camera right, I don't know if it's going to pick it up, but you can see that sort of bubble to the left. That's the eye cap. You can maybe see it. It won't focus. There, you can see it better there. You can see the two circles. That's the scales that are over the eyes. So the eyes are covered by a scale, and that acts as a protector. It stops dust and dirt and things going in the eye, so it protects the eye. So when they shed their skin, they shed the scale from their eye as well, all in one piece. Ideally all in one piece. When they shed, it's really common for the tip of the tail, the very tip, not to shed in young snakes. And what happens is over time it breaks at the same place every time they shed their skin, and then they end up with a really thick piece of skin, and it acts like a tourniquet, and it cuts the supply of blood to the tail, the tip of the tail. The tip of the tail dies and eventually drops off. There is a chance of infection and that sort of thing. So if you've got a snake, especially a young snake, you should always check that the tip of the tail has come off. Initially when the snake just shed, the skin is very soft and like elastic and stretchy, but over time it dries out and it's more like paper. So if it's just shed, normally just getting a little dish of lukewarm water and putting your finger and thumb in it, get them wet, and then just slide down the tail, and it's easy to show, but if you imagine this was a snake and it's maybe got a little bit of skin in the tail, if you wet your fingers and then just very gently slide it like that, it'll usually unravel and come off, and then you just get that little tip. So if you get that off, that's good. Another thing is the eyes as well. You need to make sure when it sheds that you get the two eyes. You can see in the shed that you've got the two eyes. Sometimes they tear and it might only shed like half its head or something like that. Again, it's more difficult with the head because obviously they don't like getting touched in the head, but again, if you wet it or if you put them in like a pillowcase that's wet, well, damp, and put them inside there and let them just move about, rubbing against the cloth would usually be enough to get it off. If not, you would have to like try and hold the snake, and again like wet your fingers and try and just gently just wipe it off. If it's really close to when the snake's shed, it should be very easy. But if you leave it too long, the skin dries out and it becomes more difficult. The other thing you can do is put them in a box, a box with like just shallow water, not enough to like cover the snake, just maybe halfway up the height of the snake, and put a little rock or stone in, and then just leave the snake for maybe an hour or two to go about there. It can climb up in the rock if it wants to get out of the water, but it's really high humidity. It makes the skin soft, and hopefully that comes off. And I have had people, well, I remember one guy in particular had a royal python, and I don't know how many sheds it had. It was a really thick piece of skin over one eye. I couldn't see out of the eye. And he gave me the snake for a week, and I just kept soaking it and letting it. You don't want to keep them too wet for too long because they can start to get fungal growths and stuff. But I would just give it a good soak once in a while for maybe an hour, and the skin did come off. I was surprised because it was really thick, but it did come off. So it does work. You just have to be patient. Obviously, you have to be very gentle as well. It's not really something that I would say a beginner should try. I have heard horror stories of people using sellotape and sticking it on the skin and then pulling it. I heard that one time somebody did it and they pulled the eyeball out of the snake. I don't know if that's a true story or just one of these urban myths. But I wouldn't try that. It's just moisture. If the skin gets soft, it'll come off, as simple as that. So she's she's decided she's had enough. So if you're interested in coming on and asking any questions about snakes or husbandry or just anything at all about snakes in general, if you keep snakes and you just want to maybe talk to somebody else that keeps them, I'd be interested in speaking to you. So I'm going to try and come on. I was on, it's been a few months since I've been on. It's just kind of hard at times to find the time. But I'm going to try and make a point of being on a Saturday or a Sunday, around about this time, maybe a bit earlier than this. So hopefully I'll start to catch some people. But that's it for now. So thanks for watching, and maybe I'll have a chat with you at some point. Okay, thanks, bye.